What's good? What's good, everybody? What's good? What's good? Peace, love, and blessings. Peace, love, and blessings. Peace, love, and blessings. Waiting for everybody to chime in. Just waiting for people to chime in. Once people start chiming in, we'll go ahead and begin. We'll go ahead and start and, get to be a wonderful thing. We get this thing going. All right. I'm live on Facebook, live on YouTube, and also on Rumble. We talk about getting this word out. So, let me just say, all right, we in. Just waiting here. Waiting here. Waiting. Let's see what we got. Put that number 1 in the chat. Even on Facebook Live, put that number 1 in the chat so I know you there. There we go. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's go in ahead and get it in. Let's get it in. Let's go ahead and get it in. Let's go ahead and get it in. Peace, love, and blessings to all. There we go. Getting this in, getting it set up right now. There we go. Cool. So, shout out to Miss Sadia Khan. She's a life coach, therapist, psychologist. She's licensed. She's very good. She's good at what she does. And she has a lot of points to make. And we're going to talk about those points as people begin to chime in. And I'm excited because she has a lot of information to share. She has a lot of information to get out there, and it gives us a lot to talk about. Being on this journey, knowing what it is that we have to do, and knowing who we are, what to attract, and so forth, that when you have the right person speaking and sharing, I believe that it opens up those doors. It opens up the doors for everything, getting down to the meat and bones of it all. Because that's what we have to do, get down to the meat and bones of it all, if that makes sense. So without further ado, we're going to talk about, the things that attract the opposite sex. What attracts a man? What attracts a woman? What things to look out for? What red flags? Are there any red flags for that nature? And we're going to have a discussion about these things because it's something that we should take heed to. We should take in. how to attract the right person. You know, I think that's everyone's case. I think that's everyone's deal. That's everyone's spill. Everyone want to know, how do I attract, you know, the right man or the right woman? What things do I need to look for? Am I saying the right things? Am I doing the right things? Am I being presentable? Okay. Am I being respectful? One thing I do know, you got to have your rock star. So without further ado, grab your shoulder pads and your helmet, and let's go to work.
Now, in today's episode, what I want to do is talk to you about self-esteem. Now, I've spoken a lot about how self-esteem is the biggest determinant of whether or not your relationships will last. The breakdown and maintenance of relationship is almost entirely contingent on your self-esteem. Those with high self-esteem find relationships quite effortlessly. They also maintain relationships quite easily. But if there's one factor that will break up relationships is low self-esteem, because it affects your selection process, it affects your ability to communicate, it affects your ability to resolve conflict, it affects everything. So we really, really need to build our self-esteem. Now, having low self-esteem is very, very normal. And one thing that people get confused is they confuse confidence and self-esteem. Confidence is your ability to complete a particular task. So let's say, for example, I'm really confident at cooking, or let's say I'm really confident at my work, or let's say I'm really confident at public speaking. That's my self-confidence. I might be filled with it. But self-esteem is, you can tell what somebody's self-esteem is like by what they accept in their life, particularly in romantic relationships. Now, self-esteem really is just what you expect from people, what you accept and expect from people. Now, somebody who accepts a lot of abuse probably has low self-esteem. Somebody who expects, a lot of neglect probably has low self-esteem. Somebody who doesn't accept that and sets some very careful boundaries, but also gives a lot. Self-esteem is not just what you accept from people, it's also what you do to people. People who do lots of...
The reason why I chose this topic is this is a very, very good topic to talk about, because you get to hear it from someone that knows the game, someone that been in the game, someone that is licensed, okay? And oftentimes when it comes to, again, dating, the relationship aspect of it, or even just the interaction of it, are we saying the right things? Are we moving right? What's going on? Is that person feeling me? So much is going through your mind at that time, okay? And with the disconnect within relationships today, we got to find our way back to each other. We got to get to that place, back to that place called love, when a lot of things was genuine, whether the long phone conversations, remember that? The late night phone conversations, going out. It didn't matter where you went. It wasn't about how much money you spent. Long as you two were able to spend time together, those were the things that were most important, that most take for granted. However, these are those things that we want to talk about, we want to dive into. So let's continue to get that work.
Nice things to people, but don't accept horrible things being done. That's probably a healthy level of self-esteem, because there's other people out there that will expect someone to pay all their bills and to take all their money and like sleep with them, whatever it is, but they don't give much back. That's still a signal of low self-esteem, because self-esteem not only involves what you accept from others, but also what you give back to others. And only those with high self-esteem are in a position to give back, because they have a healthy sense of reality. And and they realize connections are a dynamic and it involves two people, giving and receiving. So that's the difference between confidence and self-esteem. Now, those with low self-esteem, where it comes from is very much your childhood, and I know I talk about this a lot, but if you grow up with parents that are inconsistent or unloving or a bit cold or a bit rejecting, or if you grew up in an environment where they favored siblings, or if you grew up in an environment where you were bullied by your peers and you didn't do well academically, those early years are really formative. And the reason they're so formative is they create a core belief, a belief about yourself. Now, your core belief might be that nobody loves me, or I'm not attractive, or I am stupid, I'm not very smart. Or
A lot of things always goes back to our childhood. And this is why even when you go see a therapist and so forth, now you know why they always ask, what was your childhood like? What was it like growing up? Because it gives them an avenue. That's the starting point, okay? And it allows them to identify why one behaves the way they behave, why they move the way that they move, okay? Those childhood events, what took place in your childhood life? What things was done to you? What things was said to you? Okay? Child abandonment, spiritual, verbal, mental, physical abuse, child neglect, favoritism. These are those things that individual 9 times out of 10 went through. Was your father in a home? Did your father pour into you? When we look at the statistics and we look at the things that's going on today, and the reason why an individual behaves the way they behave, come from a single parent household. See, we can have these discussions and we can flip it any way we can. But at the end of the day, getting down to the root of it all, why one behaves the way they behave, why one moves the way that they move, why one responds the way they respond. And is that individual willing to go back and tear off the layers of their past and deal with it? Because if they do not deal with it, isn't it something how your past will show up in your social life and your love life? And before you know it, your relationship is destroyed. Your marriage is destroyed. But no one wants to take responsibility. Okay.
Or your core belief might be that I'm not going to, nobody is going to stay with me. Everybody's going to leave me. For whatever reasons, we might develop a negative core belief in our childhood, which leads to low self-esteem. Now, that doesn't mean your low self-esteem has to be fixed. It's never too late for a good childhood, and you can undo that damage in a couple of steps. And I'm going to teach you how to undo the damage of low self-esteem and how to improve your self-esteem. The first thing that you have to do to improve your self-esteem is have a look at your value system. Now, there's been research by Johann Hari who kind of distinguished between intrinsic and extrinsic values. And intrinsic values is how much you value things like connections with others, or respect for people, or giving back, like these intangible things that you can't see, but they mean a lot to you. How much you value being truthful, how much you value being sincere and authentic. These are your values. Now, other people have what's known as extrinsic values. Now, extrinsic values is your happiness is determined by how many stuff you have, like materialism, like money, or it's your happiness is determined by your attractiveness, like how attractive you are or how attractive your partner is, or your value is determined by your extrinsic values can also include being famous or being popular. It depends on other people's people seeing it for it to mean something to you?
The thing is, how do people see you? How do people view you? But wouldn't it be good to say how you see yourself? How do you treat yourself? How do you respect yourself? How do you love yourself? Are you kind to yourself? Would it also be safe to say that while on your journey, on your purpose, you're constantly doing what it is that you need to do to improve yourself so that the best version of yourself will be seen by many? I mean, this is really something to take a look at, because when you have a true understanding of who you are, and you know who you are and whose you are, and you embrace that and you walk in the essence of that, then you're going to draw to you that man or woman of your dreams. It's the law of attraction. What you put out into the universe is what you're going to attract and draw to you. What you think about, you will attract and draw to you. You see? And when we look at things that we see that's going on everyday life, and not just everyday life, but this thing called reality, we begin to see different things now because the blinders come off. We all on our purpose. We get that. Let's go deeper than purpose. Okay? Let's go deeper than purpose. Let's tap into our inner self. Let's continue. And shout out to my brother, I Am. Go to his channel. Show him some love. King is doing amazing things. And shout out to those on Facebook Live that's watching. I appreciate all the love. I just hit 50,000 subscribers. I'm continuously raising the bar. This is 2025. Consistency, no excuses. Let's get this work.
Happiness depends on how much other people approve of what it is that you have. So those are extrinsic values, whereas intrinsic values are very much internal, and they exist with or without people. So when people lean towards extrinsic values, so they focus on things like looks, money, fame, popularity, external things, they're more likely to have low self-esteem. And the reason being is because those things are so fragile. They can disappear at any time. We know our looks are going to fade. We know that money can disappear at any point. We know fame is futile. It's going to disappear at some point as well. Whereas having a stance towards truth, or having good, healthy connections, or giving back to those that are less fortunate, these values exist with or without an audience, and they'll exist permanently. So you have a look at what you value in life, and how you know what you value in life is usually by what you put most of your energy into, but also what you get jealous about. If I'm super jealous of somebody because they've got a Rolex or because they've got a Lamborghini, that suggests my values are more extrinsic. But if I'm jealous of somebody because they are really brave, or they're really authentic, or they're really intelligent, that means I have more intrinsic values. So have a look at your value system. And if they're very external and very extrinsic, try and shift them more to intrinsic, because having extrinsic values, not only is it bad for you, but for your self-esteem, but it's also bad for your connections. You end up having competition with others. Because your happiness depends on other people seeing you and other people praising you, you're almost in a constant competition with other people. So first step towards better self-esteem is assessing your values. Now,
not only assessing your values, but look at what's right in front of you and assess the situation. Okay? When I say assess the situation, let's look at it this way. Your talents. Let's take a look at your talents. Are you perfecting your talents? Are you constantly perfecting your talents, getting better and better and better? Okay, let's shift it. I speak in football terms because, that was my sport. I mastered it and played it. Just like football. In order for me to become a better defensive lineman, and not only perfecting my craft, getting better foot speed, hand technique, watching film, I'm also going to tap into my mentors. Now, those that know me know I've had some great mentors. Okay? Adam Plant, Christian Okoye, Jim Brown, God rest his soul, Reggie White, God rest his soul, Greg Townsend. All right? These are individuals that poured into me. Anthony Bartley. These are individuals that poured into me that helped me get to where I needed to be as a defensive player, as an athlete. They poured into me. I took the knowledge that they gave. I took the teachings that they gave. And when I applied those things, also Marlon Briscoe, when I applied those things, it helped me to become better. Christopher Big Black Boykins, God rest his soul. Remember the show Robin Big? All right. But overall, I took that knowledge, I took those teaching, I took that mentorship, and I poured it into my position, and it allowed me to become better, better, and better. And that's what we have to do in everyday life. When we have individuals pouring into us because they see something in us that sometimes we don't even see ourselves, but they pour into us in order for us to elevate our game and step it up. We're going to do that. Many will see that. So taking those same entities and applying it even in our personal life, whether it be our social life or our love life, now we're able to make better choices and decisions. Let's continue to feast.
The second step towards self-esteem is having really strong self-control. Now, there's been so many studies like the marshmallow test where they looked at children and they gave them a marshmallow and they said, if you wait, you'll get 2 marshmallows. But if you have this straight away, you won't get another one. And they found that the ones that waited and had self-control were more likely to be academically successful. They were more successful with their peers. They just had a better quality of life as they got older.
First off, I want all the marshmallows.
And the reason why self-control is so important is because what it does is it makes you forego temporary satisfaction for long-term satisfaction. What I mean by this is if I have self-control and I don't eat that piece of chocolate cake, what will happen is in the moment I won't feel good, but later on I'll have a better body. Or if I don't spend all my money on the gambling machine, in the moment I miss out on dopamine, but in the long term I have financial security. Now what self-control does is it builds your self-esteem, because what happens is you start respecting yourself more when you can exercise self-control.
And we'll see, and I believe we're seeing that more and more and more. The more we observe everyday life, we see that even in the dating phase. Let me keep it a penny with you. When you have self-discipline, it's okay for a man to say no. It's okay for a woman to say no. It's okay for a man to say yes. It's okay for a woman to say yes. What am I saying yes and no to? And how does it benefit me after it's all said and done? Okay? Having self-discipline says a lot about your character, says a lot about you. Self-discipline, self-control. One of the things I've always admired about some of my friends that are monks and the things that they've taught me, self-discipline, how to humble yourself. Because I do a little bit of cage fighting part-time, King of the Cage. One of the things they teach me, self-discipline. Because your hands are registered as lethal. So you just can't be quick to go off and bless somebody with your hands. You got to know self-discipline. You got to know when to fall back. You got to know when to walk away. But when it comes to blessing someone with your hands, you got to know how far to go, and you got to know when to pull back. You got to know when to do just enough to counter the attack without going overboard with it and taking it too far. Well, it's the same thing. It's the same principle applied to our love life. We got to know who to talk to, who not to talk to, who to date, who not to date, who to be with, who not to be with. But we also got to know when to fall back. Okay, this doesn't benefit me. I need to fall back. But you know what? I can see that if I continue leaning in with good intentions, I can see how this can be very beneficial, especially when both parties are doing their part to meet each other in the middle. And you have a mutual likeness and a mutual interest. Let's continue.
When you can forego temporary desires for your long-term goals, you start to respect yourself so much more. And this applies even for people. When you have self-control and you don't kind of go back to the ex that was rude to you and disrespectful, or you don't give in to every woman that wants to have sex with you. When you have self-control, you will start to respect yourself so much more. And
I'm going to stop right here. I like when she talked about the ex. I'm going to share this with you. Okay, I remember going through my time in the wilderness in 2019. Okay, this is where I had to learn self-control, and I had to apply self-control. It's so easy to get out of control, especially when you're hurting, especially when you are right in the thick of it. Okay? And you got so many people in your ear telling you, get over it. You got to move on. Got to go on with your life. It's going to be okay. You can't keep talking about it. Do this, do that, sit here, go over there, eat this, throw that away, gather this, write this, say this, don't say that. So many people in your ear. But yet no one says, go ahead and let it out. Go ahead and release that. It's okay to hurt. You have feelings too. Versus keeping it all in. And you go out of control and you do something you will regret. You see, I just wanted you want people to know what was done to you. And it made you feel some type of way because that person is still acting like they didn't do nothing wrong. It's not even about holding on to it. But you see, that's where discipline, once again, we talk about that discipline, self-control, certain things we got to learn, because if we don't learn it, but the moment we learn it, the better we move. The more we sit back and we assess the situation and we observe and we look at things with a clear-eye view. Everything that you have been doing, that person has been doing, their family and friends may not pick up on it, or maybe they do, but that has nothing to do with you. You have to move and do things for yourself. And I'm going to tell you, the moment I begin to understand that and master the art of discipline and self-control, you know what? I was able to heal. And I said, imagine if I shared my testimony with men. How many men out there that have been broken, that have been hurt, that have been in my shoes? I can already understand how a large number of women feel, because there have been a lot of women that have walked down those roads. But for me to walk down those roads, you know what? I clearly understand now. I forgive. And when I begin to talk to different men and share with different men, even men have been messaging me, DMing me. I heard your testimony. I went through that same thing. I'm in the midst of that. I'm in the thick of it. I'm about to go through it. I'm coming out of it. How did you come out of it? What did you do? And I told them, number one, the art of self-forgiveness, being able to forgive yourself, being able to ask Elohim to forgive you for allowing someone to treat you that way, allowing the okay. It's not okay. What part did I play? Was I willing to go back and confront my past? Being able to forgive those that played their part in my past in order to wipe the slate clean, so that once I begin to heal, now I'm being put in a better position to have a healthy relationship. There's too many people run from their past, and they okay with running from their past. They rather run from their past or act like it never existed. What do you mean? Those talk about self-love, self-care. No, you gotta deal with that. You gotta face that. There's some things there's an off balance. There's some things going on there. So when we begin to do that, okay, and practicing self-discipline and being able to humble ourselves, now we're able to move differently. Now we're able to see things clearly. Let's continue.
How you build self-control is every time you go to make a decision, you ask yourself, is there any chance that I'm going to feel any shame, any guilt, or any regret? If there's any shame, guilt, or regret made from this particular decision, don't do it. If there's even an inch of it, you're going to regret it. But if the decision involves no shame, no guilt, no regret, then do that. Always do the thing that has no regrets. The more you live a life that has no shame, no guilt, no regret, the more you'll start to respect yourself and the more you'll like yourself. And therefore your self-esteem will naturally improve. So whereas when you look at people who have low self-esteem, just look at all their decisions. They're chaotic. They are poor decisions. They're short-term goal orientated. So they're doing things that they hate. They'll overdrink and then the next day have a hangover. They'll overspend and the next month they're living paycheck to paycheck. They'll go sleep around and then the next day they feel a bit like, oh God, I'm stuck with this woman.
It's doing things that you loved. I loved playing ball. I loved waking up on game day, getting my mind right. I loved it. I played me some DMX. Rest in peace, King. I play some DMX. I'll play some reggae. You know, I whatever it was. I always had a thing on game day. I love candy corn. Candy corn, hot chocolate, and 2 apple fritters. That was my ritual. That was my thing. Going in to the locker room, looking at my jersey, taking that knee, getting dressed, teammates coming in, gathered around my teammates, going out for warm-ups, blessing the field. These are the things that I love doing on game day. Hitting somebody hard, going in after it. You know, that's what I loved. And oh my gosh, it was a good feeling. It was an amazing feeling. You know, and signing autographs. You know, signing autographs. But now I took a better life. I took a better interest. You see? So there's more to it. But do the things that you love doing. Do the things that you enjoyed. I enjoyed hitting people on that field. If you had on a different color jersey than me, you was going to get it. If my mother was on the field, you going to get it. I love signing autographs and interacting in the community with the kids. Like when I had the opportunity to play for AFE Team USA, shout out to all my brothers and my sisters of AFE Team USA, Coach G, Mr. and Mrs. G, I love y'all. One of the things that I love is putting a smile on the kid's face. To me, whoo. You know, shout out to my coach, Jamie Keeling. Hardin Simmons on the way, you better recognize. R.I.P. to Samuel Shields, my coach who recruited me. The things you love doing, you do that. The things you're passionate about. I'm passionate about this podcast show. Getting that word out. Interacting with the beautiful men and women of the world. Seeing the comments. And it just is very therapeutic for me. So what's that thing that you love doing? Please leave it in the comments. I want to know. What is it that you are passionate about that you love to do? That makes you whole, that brings you peace, that's therapeutic for you.
So they live a life filled with regret, and then they start to dislike themselves, and then their self-esteem drops. So you want to start practicing more self-control if you want to improve your self-esteem. The third step towards building your self-esteem is fulfilling your potential. Now, how you fulfill your potential is you have a look at the person that you are today. Think about your weight, think about your finances, think about your job, think about your connections, and that is your current self-concept. Compare that to your ideal self. What would an ideal life look like for you? What would be the body you would have? What would be the money you would have? What would be the relationships you have? Now, if there's a huge gap between that, where you are now and where you want to be, chances are you're not fulfilling your potential. But as the gap closes, the closer you are to your full potential. Now, as that gap is, if it's very wide, you're going to have low self-esteem. If your body's nowhere near where you want it to be, if your money's nowhere you want it to be, if your relationships are nowhere near where you want it to be, you're going to have low self-esteem.
But let's take those exact same things and use those things as motivation to help get us where we need to be. I also believe that self-motivation. Not enough individuals are self-motivated. You have to be self-motivated. Okay? Let's take these things. If I'm not training like I should be, and I get out there in the game, what's going to happen? I'm going to increase my chances of an injury. I'm not only going to hurt myself, but also my teammates, put my teammates in a bad situation because I'm not where I should be. So in order to keep those things from happening, I'm going to do what I need to do and be where I'm supposed to be so that those things don't happen. Big Truck, how does that apply towards our love life? Simple. Be where you're supposed to be. Do what you're supposed to do at all times. Character, personality, being available, being respectful, being kind, being approachable, knowing who you are. If you are a woman, being feminine, fit, and friendly. If you are a man, be masculine, fit, and friendly. Because listen, men and women are visual creatures too. Let's cut it. Let's be real about it. I want to be with someone that I'm attracted to spiritually, mentally, emotionally, sexually. She too, on the other hand, want to be attracted to a man with those same things. Well, how do we do that? Everything starts from within. If you on YouTube, please like the video. If you on Rumble, please like the video. If you are on Facebook Live, please like the video. Let's increase them likes. Let's get them likes up. Let's put that number one. Put that number one in the chat so I know you feeling me. That goes for Facebook, Rumble, and YouTube. I appreciate the love. But again, it's be where you're supposed to be, do what you're supposed to be doing, and the doors of opportunities will open to you. But everything starts from you. You see? Let's continue to tap into self. Forget about what's going on in the world. Be careful who you're getting advice from. Like I've always said, a person that goes after what they want is never alone. There are a large number of women that see a good man that they like and they know how to go after him. And they're not afraid to. And vice versa. We all gonna get rejected. Granted. But I guarantee you, out of 5 no's, that one gonna say yes.
So what you want to do is make sure that you are fulfilling your potential in every way, shape, or form. And how you can fulfill your potential is have a look at all the problems that you're going through in your life. Yeah, all the different problems. It might be problems with your friends, it might be problems with your family, it might be problems with your weight, it might be problems with your money, and get into problem-solving mode. How do I fix these problems? All the problems you can fix, you try and fix. All the ones you can't, you let go of. Now, as you start fixing all your problems and you fix them without making any shameful or regretful decisions, you keep fixing your problems, the gap between your current self and your ideal self will start to close and you'll start to fulfill your potential. But if you just have a bunch of problems and you don't acknowledge them and you just go into denial and you don't try and fix them, then what will happen is the gap will widen and your self-esteem will drop. So you really have to make sure you make an active effort to fulfill your potential as much as possible.
Not only that, but when we get into the aspect of the spiritual relationship, because it's about spiritual relationship, not religion. When you begin to strengthen your spiritual relationship with the Most High, Yeshua HaMashiach, okay, now that you opened yourself to him, he's going to pour into you the tools that you need. You're going to need tools. Going to need his help. Elohim is going to walk you through it. He's going to be there with you. More you call on him, he's going to be right there. And he's going to walk you through it. He's going to give you every tool you need. He's even going to send certain people to you. Have you ever been in a situation where Elohim started sending certain people to you, especially those that you didn't even know, start coming to you, start helping you, start pouring into you, start investing into you, start speaking into you? Okay.
The final step towards high self-esteem is giving back. Now, the thing with giving back and giving to others and providing a service to others is innately it makes you feel more valuable, because you believe you're fulfilling your purpose by giving to others. Here's where people get it wrong. Some men, particularly men, do this, and even women, actually, women do this as well. They'll meet a partner who is an absolute mess, and they want to feel their self-esteem grow through helping them, through fixing them. So they'll give back to this person, give and give and give, thinking that this person is then going to fall in love with them because, you know, they're the Superman or they're the Superwoman who's just come into their life and fixed every problem. The problem with that is we cannot give with the underlying intention of making that person attached to us. That won't help our self-esteem.
You have to be careful of who you giving to. You have to be careful of who you pouring into. Okay? You have to be careful. We can't fix everybody. Okay? We can't take a person's past or a person's issues or a person's toxicness and think we're going to fix them. Not going to happen. But if you are mindful of who you are giving to, okay, now you will see those benefits. Okay? I'm helping you. I'm assisting. But I'm also showing you that this is a team effort thing, because we all not perfect. We all got things we got to work on. So let's work on these things together and grow in love. You notice I said grow in love, not fall in love, but grow in love. Because we both working on things together. Even if we have to go do counseling together, because we both got unresolved childhood issues. Because when we see, especially on social media, a lot of the things that individuals are doing and saying, a lot of it is based off of childhood issues, unresolved childhood issues. It's the reason why they behave the way they behave and make a fool out of themselves. And we seeing that. It's just that I say what most don't say. That good old-fashioned harsh truth. Why lie to you when I can be straight up with you and keep it a penny with you? Let's continue to feast. I think she has a little bit more to say. Then I'll give my final thoughts, and the spirit of the universe will take us home.
The reason why that won't help our self-esteem is people who give too much and give hoping that you'll attach them end up with people who take a lot, takers. And with takers, they actually lose love and attachment to the person that they're taking from. The
And
more
also
you give a
respect.
girl, let's say, for example, you're a guy with a lot of money
lose
and you meet a
respect
girl
for
that
you.
hasn't got any money, but she takes a lot from you. Those girls will actually become more disrespectful and more rude to you because there's a part of us that feels a bit guilty when somebody gives too effortlessly to us. So the only way to reduce the guilt is to make fun of the person that's giving to us or to diminish what they're giving to you. So you might say, oh, but you're so stupid, or is that it? Like, you become entitled. Similarly, if you're a woman that's giving everything you have to a man, he might start taking advantage of that. So when I say giving, you have to give with zero expectation of attachment. You do it because you have a particular skill and you want to give that skill to other people, not because you want that person to like you.
I understand where she's going with that. In part two to that, there's nothing wrong with being nice. Me, I'm a nice guy, but I'm not no fool either. There's a difference. Don't be no fool. Because if if two people like each other, it's going to show in their actions. Their actions is going to show that they like you. Their actions is going to show that they are into you. Their actions is going to show that they enjoy spending time with you. They can care less about going out. If a person likes you, they're not going to take from you, but they're going to meet you in the middle. They're going to meet you where you stand. Too many people are giving to the wrong people that you know you should not be giving to, but you do it anyway. But the moment you do it, you feel some type of way because the end result of that is they doing what they want to do to you. But you were warned about them, about giving to them. But you chose to do it anyway. Well, that's what you get. You're going to learn today. You're going to be more cautious about who you give to. You're going to be more cautious about who you spend your time with. You're going to be more cautious about who you interact with, how you interact. Can't bond with everybody. But at the end of it all, not everybody was allowed on Noah's Ark.
So if you want to build your self-esteem, figure out what skills you have, whether that's just you're a good listener and you then become a really good listener to your friends, or whether that's just you're really good at cooking and then you cook for others. Think about what valuable skill you have and find a way of giving it to others with zero expectation of it enhancing the attachment. Now, if you're just a man with a lot of money and you're going to women that are using it, that's not going to build your self-esteem. If you're just a woman who's ultra caring and then you're going for guys that don't do anything for you, that's not going to build your self-esteem. Don't do it in that context. Do it in a context where you have a particular skill, you either teach it to others or you make it a service to others, and that will really enhance your self-esteem. Okay?
And with that being said, that concludes our session. You know, I hope that everyone had a good time. And if you haven't already, please go to her channel. I'll put her link in the description box. She can go subscribe to her channel. She have tons of videos. We're going to be doing more and more conversation and reviews using her videos because she has a lot of hidden gems. She in a lot of conversations and topics that we can begin to unravel and begin to mend this division, especially between black men and black women. We begin to mend this division. We begin to, as adults, stop division between each other, but be able to have an adult conversation. What are your interests? What are your likes? How to approach a woman? How to approach a man? What characteristics to look for within a woman or a man? All these little gems. And I always tell people, a person that goes after what they want is never alone. It's okay to say hi. Look at Simone Biles. She said it herself. When I see something I like, I go after it. And look what she did. She walked herself right into a healthy marriage with someone that loves and respects her and treats her right. At the end of the day, that's what we all want. Whether we male or female, that's what we all want. Someone that's going to love and treat us right, respect us. A relationship is easy to have. A large number of individuals will make it difficult. Why? I do not know. Continue to pour into yourself. Continue to know self-worth. Continue to follow your dreams. Continue to follow your purpose. Keep Yeshua HaMashiach the head of your house. When you put forth the effort, your trust, and your faith in him, the one who woke you up this morning, the one who gave you life, the one who disciplines you and corrects you, the one that makes you look at you, then give you the option. You want to continue on with these same old patterns, or do you want to make a change? You decide. Until then, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Go be the best version of yourself for many people to see. Take that with you and go be great. It's your boy Big Truck here at the King's